done. And, that made it so much fun because we're all sitting there saying, what the hell is going to happen? And then, okay, we get this idea, we get that idea, we get this idea. Well, maybe this is going to happen. Maybe that's going to happen. Like, and what actually ended up happening was pretty awesome, and the last time that something like that happened was Game of Thrones. And of course they blew the last season, but Disney landed it, right? Marvel landed it. They were like, okay, the hype was insane around WandaVision, and they landed that plane, right? And so we'll see what happens with Loki, but I'm confident they'll do the same thing. The hype around Captain America wasn't as big only because there wasn't as many questions like there was, right, in WandaVision, where it was like there were so many unknowns. There were less unknowns, right? Obviously, we didn't know if he would take up the shield and everything else, but like for the most part, we had an idea of what was going to happen during that show pretty much the whole time. It was just more or less how are they going to get there? You know what I mean?
And we did get introduced to a lot of new characters. I mean, obviously you did too in WandaVision, but the central focus was Wanda and Vision. And obviously, Sam and Bucky, but even those two were, I don't want to call them complementary characters within the universe, but to that point had really been, kind of side characters. I mean, obviously in different movies, Winter Soldier was, Bucky's bigger role and everything like that. But, you're not as, up to this point, you weren't as attached. So it was more centric on them, and obviously Sam's story trying to obviously turn into Captain America. But no, it was fantastic. I loved what they did with it. I'm eager to see, obviously, the evolution of Loki, what's going to happen with him and his series, and where it's going to kind of lead us down the road. And to your Game of Thrones comment, I think now in hindsight, what we've seen happen is clearly the writing team was not as strong. I think, look, I like the last season more than a lot of people. But I also recognize that it is greatly flawed, and I think their biggest problem was they cut episodes and they rushed it, and it completely sapped the quality of the show, and you kind of feel a little bit of a void when you watch it now. And I know because I've watched kind of through it, most of it recently, and it
no chance.
Yeah,
no chance. I just, the way they ended it was so stupid. It was so dumb. It was like you changed, nothing ends well in Game of Thrones, right? And like they said it multiple times. If you think it's a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. And then they had a happy ending. Yeah. And it's like, what the hell, dude? Like, like that. I've read the books, and I've given up hope that we're ever going to get the Winds of Winter. That's that. I'm not even. It's unfortunate, but I do hope that maybe there's been enough time now that if it does come out, I'll be eager to read it, and then wait another 15 years for the next book. But yeah, it's there's obviously a stark pun intended stark difference between the writing of the two franchises. And once, the Game of Thrones team got out of that source material, it became more and more difficult. Whereas, obviously, like you brought up earlier, these movies have source material, sure, but it's not direct source. You have to take bits and pieces and kind of make your own story with parts of others adapted to it, and that's what they've done so well. And again, when I can sit here and say, well, I'm looking at 23 movies, and we'll include the 2 TV series as well, so 25 altogether, and only 2 of them are movies that I just don't like, and I have no problem never watching again, and that's pretty impressive. So I do want to wrap this up soon, but I don't want to do it without giving you a huge pat on the back. Another pun intended. All over the place right now. It's getting late. I've been trying to wean off caffeine, so my mind's been going a little crazy the last couple days. But you also had a couple weeks ago a draft of Marvel characters, and again, it's not just because you're on the show; it's because you picked the right team. I thought you won. And I'll read off you were in the fifth position, and this was Snake. So fifth. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Just to clear that up. So Thanos goes first overall, but you ended up going Doctor Strange, Vision, Abomination,
Ghost, Scotland Ant-Man, and Carly Morgenthau, which I like the bottom part of your group, but it all begins and ends with the top two. And I that's, that to me is like, you almost got the two top players in the draft. Let's just put it that way, in my humble opinion. And maybe a Wanda rival. Maybe Wanda rivals those two, but to have both of them, I thought that really that was a huge get for you.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, look, for me personally, right, Wanda goes second. Like you said, Thanos went first. Wanda goes second. Then Dormammu and Captain Marvel. To me, the two most powerful characters in the MCU, I think pretty much definitively, is Carol and Wanda at this point, right? After WandaVision, Wanda is the most powerful, and then Carol is right behind her, if not as powerful. But then right behind them is Doctor Strange, because he can control time. He understands how all those things work, and not only that, but Wanda is still working on refining her craft. He is an expert, right? He has 100% control over what he's doing, which makes him more deadly with it, right? Which makes him better at it because he's just so good at doing it, right? And so, again, he's up there. And then Vision came all the way back to me, and I was like, Vision came all the way back to me. Like, someone took Hulk. I would never take Hulk over Vision. Like, someone took Loki.
One trick pony. And I feel like we're
right.
We're kind of piling on Hulk here, and it's not intended. I'm holding a green pen for Christ's sakes here. But yeah, I go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah,
no.
Yeah,
it's all right. But and that's the thing. So Vision to me is super powerful. So okay, so now you get Strange and Vision, and then I added Abomination because of the Hulk. Right? It's like, well, okay, I need someone that can take on the Hulk. Right? Now maybe he can't beat the Hulk 1-on-1, but he can come pretty damn close. Right? So like, okay, now I eliminate a Hulk. Great, you got Hulk. Okay, fine, he's gone. And then Ghost, to me, Ghost is one of those characters that, like, you're scratching the surface of how powerful she really is. Mm-hmm. If she can phase in and out and can control that, I mean, how are you going to stop that? How are you going to stop her from phasing in and out? Like, you can't, like, so, and even when she was, defeated in the movie, she wasn't actually defeated in the movie. Like, they just helped her instead of fighting her. They were like, okay, we're done fighting. We're going to help you instead. Like, defeating her would not be simple. Right. And so, like, it's just, so to me, I feel like she's a character that she lasted all the way to the fourth round. I couldn't believe she was still available at that point, because it was kind of like, well, she's like really super powerful and like knows what she's doing. And so, that for me was a little bit surprised that she was still there,
I was I felt that way about Ant-Man too, because like I'm thinking about him, like, think about the advantage that you have with Ant-Man. Not only, obviously, he can shrink down to the size of an ant and smaller, but he can also make himself really, really big. And it's like, you got him fifth overall. Like, I when you said you're doing this draft, I'm like thinking in my head, how would I go about this? And, again, that's why when I saw yours, I was like, yeah, I like his strategy here. I would have been a big Ebony Maw fan. I would have tried to get him. I was surprised he lasted to the fourth round, because, I mean, your powers are inconsequential to mine. I actually might even have that on my thing. I told you I have a bunch of these things, but I feel like he would have been a great pick. I mean, I get Thanos going first overall. I get it, but
But it's no Gauntlet though.
Yeah. See, that's really key here, because, like, right. I mean, let's not pretend like he's a weak being without it, but all of a sudden that changes a lot of things, because I mean, if you have to just, I mean, that's it. So I guess.
Well, right, and that's the thing. So, but taking him over Wanda or Carol or even Doctor Strange, for that matter, and someone took Dormammu, which again is, kind of this super all-powerful being, right? So I think we only kind of scratch the surface of Dormammu's actual, like, powers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. Like, taking Thanos over those guys was crazy. But again, it's just like, okay, and I get it, but, like, without the Infinity Gauntlet, you lose against all the characters that were taken in the first round.
Just like a little stronger Hulk, really. I mean, just like, that's pretty much it if you think about it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, this is just all in good fun, so it's a bit of a, you know.
No, of course, yeah.
You know, but it's fun to sit here and see how this plays out, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, you know, I sit there and I'm like, well, actually, Groot is actually kind of a interesting pick because of, you know, just his unique capabilities, and it's like, all right, I mean, maybe Rocket. I like Rocket, but, you know, maybe I'm not picking him for my, you know, draft team, you know, type of thing. I'm wondering, was there anyone, and I'm scanning this really quickly, was there anyone that was left off that really...
I'm trying to think. There was like a few people that I was like, oh, I'm a little surprised that person wasn't picked, and I can't remember who they were at this point. You know, who the heck was it? I was like, oh, I'm surprised that person. There were a few villains that didn't get taken that I was kind of like, okay, like I feel like those villains could have been taken and weren't. No one kind of crazy, but there definitely were people that it was kind of like, like that's interesting. Like I
the
feel like
Grandmaster.
It's surprising they didn't get taken. What do you say?
The Grandmaster. That was actually one that I chuckled because look, I mean, I would have out of just kind of I mean,
right.
What was the Grandmaster really do? I mean, he just
Well, he is an all powerful being, right? I mean,
that's true. Okay,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting pick. But again, you're talking about the last pick of
and that's the thing.
Draft.
You know,
I mean, literally, actually, right before Mr. Irrelevant, which was Jim Brody, which I'm surprised at too. You know, because that kind of seemed yeah. I mean, again, I don't know.
That's the thing, right? It's like kind of like okay, maybe not, but okay,
it's like,
I can
Clint,
deal with it.
But I'm like, you know, Clint's really good with the bow and arrow, and
right.
You know,
well, so the team that won, that was voted, and we didn't get a ton of votes, but the team that got the most first place votes was S's team, and that was Dormammu, the Ancient One, Surtur, who's that big, huge guy from Thor Ragnarok, Ebony Maw, Pietro or Quicksilver, and then Adam Warlock. So Adam Warlock was a little bit, people kind of like he should be disqualified for that last pick because he's not technically in it. Right at the end of Guardians 2, there's that scene where she like refers to him but never really mentions him. But Josh, who hosts the show with me, kind of opened the door when he took Essen the Searcher, who is in like a random small little tiny scene in Guardians 1 where it's like a flashback to him, and he's, you know, the problem with that pick is that no one knew who the hell he was talking about. So it was like, you know, so it was a good pick, but it was like kind of like no one knows who you're talking about, and it's like a flashback. So it was like he's like in it for like a half a second. You know what I mean? So you kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? And so they let him pick that. So then Adam Warlock, which of course is like a super powerful character who really never shows up in the MCU, but like they hint at him maybe being in the MCU at some point in the future. We allowed, and we're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? Like, we're just fine. Yeah, okay.
It opens up the door. But I see the strategy here, though. It's there's a lot of evil here, bad guys,
right?
Including the Ancient One in that. Ancient One, you know, borderline.
Post in the dark.
Yeah,
right?
You know, hey, you know, gotta do what you gotta do. Sometimes to survive. I get it. I understand. But yeah, obviously, going with the really, I mean, you only see Dormammu at the end of Doctor Strange.
Right.
You know, obviously he's referenced throughout the whole movie. Obviously Ancient One bigger role, but yeah, I like it. And you know, there's not, again, this is all good fun, so there's no like, oh, this is terrible, this team should fire their coach. No. we're just playing with a bunch of characters here, and you know, I don't think there's too many other surprises that really jumped out at me. But no, I agree. I'm Doctor Strange and Vision. You can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's just
that's why I was like,
yeah. I was like going through. I'm like, okay, like I'm looking at Mike. You know, obviously with Wanda, I'm like, okay, Michael's that's pretty good. And you know, again, anything after Wanda, you're doing pretty well. You got the crackpot team of Bucky and Sam, so you're pretty well off. And then you go across, you're like, all right, you got Thor and Loki, you know, but the problem is Loki's probably going to betray Thor, and the whole team dynamic's going to blow up, and you know, you're going to get kind of screwed over here. Was there a bad team? Let me see. I'm taking a quick look at it.